Welcome back to the Pilot's Wife podcast. Today I'm going to share a little bit about what's been going on in our household. It has been crazy. I'm sure it's been crazy in everyone's household, especially those with kids, but it really has been crazy for us. So hopefully you'll get a few tips, a little bit of encouragement, and definitely some advice on how to be a loving and nurturing partner with definitely not being a doormat. So here's the question. For those of us who don't have a picture-perfect relationship, who don't put our highlights reel on social media and pretend it's all rosy, where can I get some down-to-earth inspiration without any religious barriers? Who can give me real-life encouragement, help me be a better spouse, and tell me how to get an even more enriching relationship without becoming a doormat? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Amy McLaren, and this is the Pilot's Wife podcast. Okay, so I was listening to somebody today who reminded me of this awesome book, Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he starts the book and he talks about how good is the enemy of great, and it was just really inspiring to hear. It just reminded me, during this time when we've had everything shaken up for us, sometimes it's going to be a good thing, and we're going to move forward and do amazing things that we never would have done before because we had a good life before. We had things good. There was no reason to sort of shake those up and do something different. But now that some of us have had that forced on us, here's an opportunity to do some really awesome things and for awesome things to come out of this. And it was just a great reminder and I thought a good reset to just to frame the next period, to help get me in the mindset of this is a great thing rather than kind of mourning the past and mourning what we had. So just a bit of a background. So obviously I'm a pilot's wife, so my husband's a pilot, and during the coronavirus there's nobody travelling, nobody's flying, and so there's no jobs for many pilots at the moment, including Josh. And so Josh has been made redundant, and it's been a bit of a process over the last 3 weeks where initially he thought he was going to be just kind of retained on minimum pay or on leave or something like that, and then it transpired that no, they were going to be shutting down the New Zealand base for Virgin, and so that means everybody in the country is now looking for an aviation job who used to work at Virgin, let alone the other airlines where staff are based in New Zealand. So this isn't just you're going to be made redundant and you have to look for another job. This is your career is being taken away from you. There's no possibility of another job in the short term, and everybody else will be going for those same jobs as you because the industry is going to take a while to get back on its feet. So it's not just about having a job removed, but Josh has had this is what I do, I'm a pilot, this is what I've been trained to do, I don't know how to do anything else. He's had that removed from him, and so that's pretty crazy and pretty scary. And for me it's like, why am I a pilot's wife anymore? I guess I am. He's still a pilot, he's just not being paid to be a pilot right now, and there's a lot of thought processes to get through, and a lot of questions we need to ask. But that's what's going on for us. And not only that, but I was working out at the airport too, and that finished up too because there's no one flying, there's no one going through airports, and they really needed to cut everything they were doing, and I was working in projects there. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how it's been for me as a wife of someone going through that, because it's not as bad for me. I can probably pick up work once this lockdown's over and we can get back out there. I'm sure companies will start hiring again and need projects going again. But for Josh, it's really a huge different thing. And so how it's been for me to support him through something that I can't help him, I can't do anything to fix it. And there's certain things that don't help when you try and say things. And so some of the things I just wanted to share with what I've been trying out, and maybe some of this will help other people. And so the reason I guess I keep talking about not being a doormat is I am so not a doormat. I really feel like we have an equal partnership, an equal, we're best friends, and he respects my opinion, I respect his opinion, and there are sometimes I put my foot down and sometimes he puts his foot down. Sometimes I feel more strongly about stuff and sometimes he does. And so I'm totally not a doormat. And so, but when I say certain things and I suggest certain things about how to have a good relationship, they might at first sight, or at first, when you first hear them, they might sound like, oh, that's like you're just letting them get away with stuff, or you're just rolling over. And I guess one of the things I want to get through in these podcasts is to kind of explain how I'm doing that, and being a loving partner and being a nurturing wife and being even submissive. That's a really emotional word, and I'm not going to talk about that one today, but it's not what people think I mean when I say that word. But even doing that, but without being a doormat. And so it's really important for me to try and explain this. And a couple of things that I have been trying so far with mixed success, just going to be talking through those. And one of them is that I'm just letting Josh have as much time to himself as he wants. So we have a couple of kids, and they are both preschoolers, so they are a handful, and we both are used to having some time away from them when we go to our work, and some time when we spend time with them, and just having us all shut up in the house when we both are very ambitious and we both have all these personal goals that we want to achieve, but we also have these kids that are demanding our attention all the time, is quite hard. And so it's hard for me as well as for him. I mean, I am a bit more inclined to want to spend time at home rather than be at work. And the choices that we've made have been about, we also have these other passions. One of them is warm houses, and we wanted to build a house that was warm without needing heating, and so without needing power to heat, so being fully self-sustainable. So we looked at solar, passive solar houses, and we ended up not being able to have kids for years and years and years, and so we were like, what's that, one of our other major goals in the meantime, and that was, let's build a house. And so we have quite a mortgage, and it's not because Josh is a pilot and I was working and we wanted to spend lots of money on a house. It's because let's see if we can build a passive solar house that's warm in every facet. And so one of the facets is that we wanted it to look warm so that we felt warm, and so we've made it into a Mediterranean style. But when you do a Mediterranean style, you have to keep in theme, and so there are some things that we did that we had to do to make it look Mediterranean that are more expensive, and we just totally did not do any of this because we had any extra money to spend, but we did it because we wanted to build this warm house, because there's nothing that we detest more than being cold, either of us. We just cannot stand being cold. We wanted to build a warm house. We didn't have kids. We thought, let's just build this house. But now we've got 2 kids and we've got this mortgage on this house that we've built, and it has been touch and go, and that's another story for another time. But we are in the situation where we have a mortgage. We both have to work, even though I would rather not have to work. I'd rather be able to be home with the kids because it took us so long to have them. I want to be bringing them up and actually being a part of their lives a lot of the time. But because of the house and and the issues that we had building, which everybody does, I've had to go out to work. But I was working 3 days a week. And Josh, obviously, full-time as a pilot. And so I'm just trying to give a background of the stresses and a background to how hard it is for me to give him as much time to himself as he wants this time, because I would also quite like some time to myself. You know, I want to be planning some podcasts. I want to be doing some more business stuff. I've got all these hobbies. I love permaculture, get out in the garden. And but at this time I know it's really, really hard for him. So anytime he says, I just need to be by myself, I just go for it, go do it. And he does do a lot of running. He's trying to run a crazy, really big race near the end of the year, and he's training for that. Totally happy for him to go because he always comes back in a positive mindset. He listens to podcasts about motivational things and he always comes back happy. But because he's going through all of the stuff, when he's interrupted by the kids a lot, he gets grumpy really easily. He's really stressed out about being able to provide for us, pay the mortgage, and he's stressed out about being stuck at home with the kids and feeling like he can't just do what he wants, because he's used to that. He's used to being able to have some time where there's no demands on his time. He's away, he's flown somewhere, he's got 14 hours, 16 hours before he has to fly back, and he can do whatever he likes. And so having that taken away is also a stress. And so I do that for him. And so even though he's going through stuff, he's also reciprocating. So when I've said, just take your time, go downstairs, disappear, and I'll keep the kids upstairs. He does that, but then when I've given that time to him, he's able to reciprocate, even though he's still going through this tough time. He still says, hey, well, do you want to have some time now? And I really appreciate that. But I just want to say, like, if we're going to do that for our partner and then they don't offer that, and that's a need that we have, I wouldn't be afraid to ask for it. I would, but it would be gentle and it would be respectful, and it would be like, hey, do you think I could have some time to myself too? I don't need much time. I just need to do this. And I would ask for it if he didn't offer it. But I am, anytime he wants it at the moment, I let him have it. And then he comes back and he's feeling much better. And the second part of that is partially because when he goes away, he is talking to people, he's ringing up others and getting advice. And so that's the second thing, is I just, if ever he gets a phone call at the moment, and we might be in the middle of something family related, again, if I can set the context for that, when we were building the house, we had... So we bought the land and we started making plans, and then we did get pregnant, and so we had a newborn while we were in very beginning stages of building, and then 2 years later we had another newborn. So we had a 4-year building process, and during that whole time we had crazy baby stuff going on, and he was taking phone calls all the time from everybody because he project managed the build, and so any time of the evening we were having dinner or whatever, he would just go off and take these phone calls. And so for me it was like, I just never feel like I can have a conversation with him. He's either away flying or when he's home he's on the phone. But at the moment, if he needs to take a phone call or he needs to go and talk to someone, I let him take the call. So again, I'm trying to explain that I'm giving up some things that are really, really important to me at this time, because I know that he's struggling, and this is my way of showing him that I'm there for him, that I care for him, and that I know how hard it is for him. I'm not trying to fix it, and I'm not trying to talk about make him feel better about it. I'm not trying to smooth things over. I'm trying to do these things for him. And like if you're in a situation as well, these might be different things, but I guess I'm talking about something that might be hard for you, but in this time, just let it happen, because they might need it, and it won't always be like this. And so I let him. He's talking to other pilots that are in the same situation as him, and he's talking to other pilots that are working for other airlines, and he's asking other people in different industries, like other things he's interested in, what they recommend at this time, and should he look into getting into other things, should he pursue more pilot jobs if there are any in the future, and things like that. And again, when he comes back from those phone calls, he's often in a better place too, because he realises other people are going through this. He realises that it's just as hard for others, and that there are possibilities out there because people are sharing these possibilities with him. So that's also been a good thing. And while he's been going through this, I've been busy researching stages of grief, because I remember sort of talking about this. I studied psychology at university, and I remember something about this, but I couldn't remember what they were, and so I was just going back through them. And there's different theories, and some of them say there's 5 stages, and some of them say there are 7. But the one that I think there was an original one, which was the 5 stages, and that's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And it says that because I sort of remember that you go through one and then the next one and the next one, and I've been made redundant too, and I fully remember thinking about this when I was made redundant and noticing myself going through these stages, and I've been noticing Josh going through these as well, but they're not in the same order. He goes to one stage and you'll come back and do another one. So definitely there was denial. There's kind of like a numbness, like this can't be happening. They're going to change their mind. This is just a consultation period, and something will happen, and they'll change their mind. Definitely anger, and a lot of that has been the feeling that stuff's being taken away that was out of his control. But also just the kids, because a really important thing for guys is to be respected, and that's how they feel loved. And when you've got preschoolers who are a little bit not very good at showing respect to their dad sometimes and not listening, that can make him really, really angry, because he doesn't feel loved by his kids. So there's a lot of yelling sometimes, but it's it's all within the I'm going through something right now, just leave me alone, stop prodding me kind of stuff. Then there's this kind, they call it bargaining, but it's kind of stuff like, if only I'd done this, or if only I'd not made this mistake, or if only I'd done this earlier, and things like that. I haven't seen so much of that, but maybe that's going on a bit more internally. Definitely depression is something. So that's the fourth stage of just feeling really glum about having your identity taken away from you, and what the heck are we going to do in the future? There's no jobs out there. There's nothing for me. What what use am I, kind of thing. And then the last one is acceptance, like, okay, what sorts of things are we going to move on with? And I've seen Josh all the way through to the acceptance, and then back again to anger, and I guess what I'm trying to describe here is that it's not unique. Like, this is stuff that people go through, and it's just a matter of understanding. Kind of, for me, I'm like, okay, now that I can see that on paper, that that's what people go through, it's totally just fine. I know he's just going through this process, and he'll get there in the end. And he really is starting to come up with some other ideas already, and it's only been 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even only 2. So I think he's gone through some of this really quickly. And but talk about the crazy stuff that's going on. I mean, we're talking about maybe commuting jobs where he's away for half a month and he's home for half a month, and maybe moving to Thailand or something so he can get a job there, and we'll all just move across to Thailand. And I mean, again, so that's not when we first got together and I knew he was training to be a pilot, we made a promise to each other that if he wanted to be a pilot, I would support him, and then wherever he got the job, I would go with him, and if we had family, we would take them. And so that's not something that scares me. Like, we're both really into adventure, and so if he is going to say, look, it's really important for me to be a pilot, the only jobs are in Thailand, then I've committed that we'll go. And so that's kind of scary, but it's another thing that for me, I know what he's going through. I know that that's, if I just support him in that, even if he decides that in the end he doesn't want to do that, or that it's not best for us as a team, initially I'm not going to say, no way, there's no way I'm moving to Thailand. It's just, okay, let's work through that process and let's talk about it. And then so the last thing that I've been trying out, well, not the last thing, but this is the third thing that comes to mind, is I'm purposefully not trying to say things like, well, I probably have by accident, but I'm trying not to say things like, it's going to be okay, we'll get through this, it's not so bad, like you'll get another job, because that just kind of probably sounds to him like he's not really valid, these feelings that he's having aren't valid, he shouldn't be so upset and he shouldn't be so depressed, whereas he fully probably should be, and I can totally understand. And so it's I've been trying to kind of more talk to him in a way like, so it sounds to me like, you're angry about this and this. Do you want to tell me about that? Is that what you're angry about? Like, because maybe if you can tell me that that's what's making you angry, then maybe it might help to talk about what we can do about it. Like, for example, having your he's one of the things he's getting angry about is not being able to get enough sleep, because the kids are keep waking us up early in the morning or at night and stuff, and so it's out of his control that he isn't getting enough sleep. But if we can talk about that and it's really making him upset, then there might be some things we can do to ensure that he gets a better sleep, or that once the kids get up, he can have a sleep in, and things like that. We can put stuff in place. So I'm trying to be practical and actually find some things that I can help and fix and do for him, so that it makes it easier for him. There's heaps of other things that I'm trying and failing at, and I'm saying things and he's getting angry at what I'm trying to do because I'm saying the wrong thing as well. And again, I mean, that goes back to one of my earlier episodes about saying sorry and about forgiveness and about we're not going to get this right all the time, but we know that we're in it for the long haul. This is just a season, and there's going to be an end to it, and we're going to come out the other side, and hopefully it's going to be great. It's going to be better than it was, and we're gonna there's some amazing things that are going to come out of this. I'm sure that because of this forced time to stop and rethink, we can start again, and we can start something awesome. So I hope that's encouraged you. If you're going through something tough in your relationship, don't feel like you're alone, because a lot of people are doing things hard at the moment. But it is just a season, and for me, I just don't want people to get divorced, because I know that these problems can be solved. I know it, I've seen it, and we can do it. It's just a matter of knowing how to do it. And so hang on in there, and it's not worth it to finish up a relationship when you can just get past this and get through it, and be more close and more intimate at the other side when you have. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you for listening, and I hope you're having a great week, and I'll catch you again next time.